What I wanted to do really for this evening is to start in a very gentle way, and not get straight into teaching or learning anything at all, actually, but actually get us all to get to know each other a bit better, and particularly to think about what experience we have had of learning about our Christian faith. What learning have we already done? And another question, which is how we all have our own really good learning style that suits us. It might not suit everybody, but it suits us. And we probably, given that we're all grown-ups, we probably know very well what our preferred learning style is. So some people are, that it has to be in pictures. Some people, they've got to do something active to learn. Some people just like opening books and just sucking up the information from books. Some people like discussing. Some people like sharing experiences and hearing from others. So that's a really important thing for us all to know about the different learning styles that we each of us on this course are likely to have. So what I've assigned you all to three breakout rooms, and Andrew and Christine and Tracy are all leaders of those groups, and I'm going to start those now. So Andrew, why don't you get Sundar to talk first, because I know he's got lots to say.
I'm not sure about that, Tom, but I'll try.
Okay, I'm going to dip out and join the other group.
Because I think in the beginning it was all visual, wasn't it? You would watch and see what people did. Yeah. And when you got older, I think it was a lot of reading. And then I think possibly now it's a lot of listening and judging what the person is saying.
Listening and judging because you can't hear, or just because of what they said?
Because I think you hear something and then you mull over what they've said.
Okay. Christine, how do you think you learn?
She's back with us, but she's muted.
You're muted.
You know what my past Masters Association's name is?
And not the whole book, just a small 1 or 2 paragraphs, and then think about it, and then what transpired in that message, and how I can apply that in my daily living, as a Christian. As a result, I have been doing that. As a result, my personality has changed a little bit. Although my wife may not agree with me, but I think my personality has changed in the sense that I've been praying quite a lot because I certainly feel that He has blessed me. I come from a very ordinary family in India. Although my father was a doctor, and we had 9 children. He had 9 children. I'm the 5th one, and 5 of us did medicine. I always wanted to come to England, right from my very young age. I don't know why, and I've been praying for it, and then here I am, and I feel that God has blessed me quite a lot. And as a result, I want to do something back to Him because He has blessed me and my family. just a thought came up to me saying that I have been working with the leprosy patients before I came to this country. So once I retired, I want to go back to the leprosy mission and start working with the leprosy patients, which I have been doing it. Although they have not, the Indian hospitals, they have not been working satisfactorily according to my wish. They are doing it according to their own way of doing things, which doesn't suit me. Because I want them to go to the villages, poor villages, and then treat the poor people with the medicines and so on. And I'm more than happy to provide money, which I've been doing it for the last 12 years. But they are not doing it properly. And so I've been praying for that again. So it's just reading, praying, and my practical experience with the people. This is what I am learning my faith in God. Can you, did you understand what I'm trying to say?
Mm. Mm.
Yes, it's interesting. Actually, to some extent, I had the same experience for myself. And what about you, Yoshiko?
I mean, I started going to the church this year because I felt so, how can I say, a bit very down because of the COVID thing and also the Ukraine war. I couldn't. I thought it was very difficult to talk about it to my friends or family because it might bring them a little bit, low feeling. And then I went to the church. So and especially a senior member every time speaks out their prayer, and I felt, yes, I agree with him, and that gave me a little bit peace of mind. And whenever I went to the church, I felt better. That's why I go to the church. But I don't know much about Christian, and I started reading Bible little by little, but it's difficult to read whole thing immediately. And I bring the piece of paper the church gives us every week, and I read through it. But it's just difficult to understand exactly what it tells us just by reading by myself. That's why I came here. So I don't know where I want to start studying, but maybe some read, and maybe we can discuss what it means and what we can learn from it.
That's great. Thank you, Yoshiko. That's really helpful to hear that. I'm so pleased that there are things that you've found already very useful. And I hope that this course will give you more things that we can read and discuss and you can hear about. But that's really great to hear. Thank you. That's really helpful. And Andrew, ask Joan.
Pardon?
Ask Joan, because I think Joan is on. Is that Joan? Yes, it is Joan.
Yes,
Hello,
it is Joan.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello, John.
Well,
Sorry.
hi, Andrew. What I found throughout my I've always gone to church, and I've always with my family, never quite understood all it about, but slowly reading parts of the Bible and talking to other people, reading together and talking about
to play
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
And so we read together. And the teacher at school, one I liked, was the English teacher.
Okay.
But I'm rubbish at figures. I won't say I'm dyslexic, but I've got to double check them.
Okay. Okay.
to continue.
Interesting about my experience myself. So I was exposed for a few years to Christianity through my sister, but I never thought about it seriously because first I just wanted to know why I'm giving up from my previous faith. I was dealing with that one. So
Hang on, carry on.
When I started to think seriously about Christianity, I was lucky to be in the Isle of Dogs neighborhood. So I attended the Sunday parish, and it was good, but the way I can learn things is even for my university studying. I really like to make story of everything. For me, going to anecdotes and small stories, and after that thinking about the stories, it helped me a lot to learn more about Christianity, Christian faith. And pilgrim books are very, very valuable sources, because they are the thing that I exactly wanted. Small stories. After that, thinking about the stories that when you read them, they seem very simple. But after you will learn about what is behind telling this simple story, this, for example, why this happened, why Jesus said that thing. And I think all of us know about these stories, but we never go deeply into them to explore them, what was behind this. So for me, these books are very invaluable, and it helped me a lot to strengthen my faith. And yes, thanks God.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So we've all got a story. And thank you, Andrew. I think it's really important to be reminded of the importance of stories. But we've also we know how we learn best, and we've been able to talk to each other about that. That's really good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to close the rooms. So there's going to be what do I do? There's about a 30-second. I'll just go into the other room and tell them. I'll just be polite. Go on.
I suppose the parable of the seeds on different, different sort of meanings of the, the seeds that sort of like grappled, and people just died off very quickly, to the very end one where they flourished and grew. That might have been quite, and some of the parables were quite sophisticated for an audience that maybe didn't have great educational skills, but I think Jesus brought it down to a level that he tried to make everyone understand what the parable was about.
Tracy, that sounds like it's been a brilliant conversation. I'm going to close the breakout rooms now, and if you can do a sum up of what your group has said, and I'll try and do something similar for the other group. So
Okay.
I'm going to close them.
No problem.
Okay. All breakout rooms, yeah. Breakout room. I'm always worried about breakout rooms that we leave somebody lingering in a breakout room, but looking around, I think we've got everybody. So there are 10.
Somehow I ended up in Tracy's group. Apologies.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So Tracy, just give us a taster of what went on in your breakout group.
Well, right about now, I can't see you. Okay, so we we spoke about what it was that how we felt we best learned. I think everybody kind of said a bit of everything, and then it was acknowledged that a member of the group brought up about, has that changed for us over time? And I think all of us kind of recognised that we might listen a bit more to make our judgments rather than having to read or something. And then we started talking about reading. What do we read? What type of things we read, and whether we retain it. Also about our memory. How does our memory work now? Is it because we write things down? Is it because we say it that we are able to retain it? And then we also spoke, and then we moved on to Christine, brought in about Jesus' parables and how he spoke and how he got us to remember things. And then, so I asked if there was a parable that anyone could think of off the cuff that they didn't understand what Jesus spoke about. I think there was nobody, we couldn't think of one. So yeah.
It's one in the back of my mind.
There is one coming up over the next couple of weeks. There's the story of the unjust steward coming up, which is really difficult to understand. Andrew, are you able to talk about what the group that you were hosting said about learning?
Yes. From my understanding, yes, I think family and where we are bringing up and our background has a very important role how our faith can be shaped, on how learning can be shaped, and also about as I talk myself about my experience, stories, telling the stories, and reading the stories and reflecting on stories about Jesus. It's can be very, very helpful in knowing the Christian faith. And as John mentioned, sharing our experiences, it's really helpful as well. And it saves a lot of time about learn about when we share our experiences, it's save a lot of time and effort to learn more about the Christian faith, rather than just going deep in different resources, so we can use the others' experiences, other people experience. So sharing our experience, sharing our thoughts, it can be very useful.
Okay, thank you. We had a very interesting contribution in Andrew's group from Yoshiko, who was talking about coming to the church and finding answers in the church and finding peace from the things that worried her, and it made me think how it's very important to say, I think, at this point that we often have an experience of salvation, and I think Yoshiko has actually described that for us. We don't learn in order to be saved. God gives us salvation before he gives us anything else. And actually, very often what we're trying to do as we're learning is that we're saying, I really value what I've felt and I've experienced, and now I need to know more. And St. Anselm talked about this, about faith that was then seeking understanding. And I think that's really what this parish education program is about. It's about the faith that we have, be it large or small, it doesn't matter, then seeking understanding and growing a bit more into that faith. So that's what I expect to see happen over the time that we study together. That's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Did the breakout rooms work? They seemed to, once we got over the fact that there were 2 groups rather than 3 groups. Did they work?
Yeah, I suppose we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
They seem to work. Okay, good. Because we'll try and do a bit more of that as we go along.
But it's such a small group at the moment that I'm not sure the breakout rooms really are justified.
Right. Well, actually, that's interesting, because I was sort of like a fisherman, and I was putting my rod into one pool and then into another pool. And let me tell you, the 2 pools were very different. They're very different indeed. And I think as a fisherman, I got different fish than if it had just been one big pool. So I think that was quite useful.
What I found is that some people probably like to speak in a smaller group. I mean, I know we're a small group now, but even smaller, some people feel more confident to speak up.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yes, I think that's probably true. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm going to tell you a bit about the bread in this sandwich. So the bread is the Pilgrim course, and I'm just going to share the screen and share some introductory remarks about the course that Stephen Cottrell and others have written. So I'm going to do that. Let's hope this works as well. Yes, it does. Okay, that's fine. Can you all see a blue page with sprouts coming out of the top of it? That's fantastic. Yeah. First thing to say, I think, is that this is very much a course that its title has been very, very carefully chosen. And you know, sometimes with courses and with books generally, it's very often the editor who actually says to a novelist, I think you ought to call it this. And the novelist goes, well, I thought I was going to call it that. And the editor says, no, believe me, I've been 25 years in the publishing business. You ought to call it this. And that happens a lot. And I think it happens when people are creating things like lead courses as well. So, but pilgrim has been really carefully chosen as a title by those who've written this course, because they recognize that there are two journeys that we can make. And one journey is a hopeless journey, and it is the slow journey towards nothingness, and the thought that when we die, that's it, there is nothing more. And then there's another journey that actually completely turns that inside out and says, no, life is a journey, but it's a journey towards life and meaning and towards God. And it's a pilgrimage. And I've been on a pilgrimage once. I went on a pilgrimage with my family in northern Spain. And you have this extraordinary experience on a pilgrimage of everybody moving in the same direction as you. And some people might be going a little bit faster and they whiz past you, and some people are going a little bit slower and you pass them by, and as you go you say bon camino to them, which means just have a good pilgrimage. But everybody's going in the same direction. And that's how it is with the Christian life and the Christian faith as well. It is very much about us all moving in the same direction, moving towards God, moving towards light, moving towards goodness. And I love this, this line: we can live and travel as pilgrims. We set our sights on God's kingdom of justice and peace. And as we journey home to God, the pathway of our life becomes more meaningful and joyful, and the world becomes a better place. And that's very, very much why this idea of pilgrim and a pilgrimage has been applied to this course. That it's not just about learning, it's about reorientating ourselves and sending ourselves maybe in a slightly different direction, in a better direction. And it's also about our lives being changed. So it's not just about what we learn, it's also about how we are changed. I know that Sundar, when in the breakout group, talked about how his life had been changed. It was good to hear that. My hope and my prayer is that as we go forward with Pilgrim together, your lives will be changed in small ways, but actually those small ways all add up. So this is a bit more of an introduction. So the idea is to explore. This is very much about exploration. It's not about what I train you in or teach you. It's actually about us exploring together. And as we explore, we all have things to bring, and they might be stories about a time before we were Christians. They might be stories about relationships or about experiences, and that all comes into this experience of exploring. So that's important. We explore what it means to become disciples of Jesus. And if you think about it, right from the beginning, that's what the disciples were doing. They were exploring what it was like to be with Jesus, and they all came carrying vast amounts of baggage. And some of that baggage was really useful, and some of it needed to be explored, and then it needed to be left behind. And that's what we're all going to be doing during this course. So, as it says, we're going to be reflecting about some key documents. So the creeds, the I believes, are really important, and we're going to be looking at those. Now, we only really use two of the I believes. There's one called the Apostles' Creed, and there's one called the Nicene Creed. It used to be thought that the Apostles' Creed, because it was shorter, was the earlier of the two. It isn't actually. It's the newer of the two, and the one we use at the Mass is the older of the two. But there are lots of little creeds in the New Testament and in the Old Testament that are just little statements about belief. Christ Jesus was proclaimed in the scriptures. He suffered, he died, was buried, rose again, that sort of thing. So there's lots of those. But we're going to be looking at the big creeds that we use on Sunday in Sunday services. We're going to be looking at the Lord's Prayer. So the Our Father, which has been passed down, not just in different versions in the Gospels, but actually has been passed down in different languages as well. And there used to be a lovely family up in Glengall Grove who used to stop me at their garden gate. They were from Syria, and they spoke Aramaic, and they loved to speak the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, which was Jesus's own language, and it was just wonderful to just listen to them doing that. So we're going to be doing the Lord's Prayer. We're also going to be looking at the Beatitudes, which are the blessings, blessings that Jesus says about those who are poor, those who are meek, those who are peacemakers, that great list of blessings. And then we're going to be looking at the commandments. And there are actually lots and lots of commandments, particularly in the Old Testament. There's 635 commandments and ordinances and other bits. But we're not going to be looking at those. We're going to be thinking about we're going to be thinking about the 10 Commandments. So we're going to be doing that. And as it says there, by actually learning these texts and learning about them and reflecting on them, you'll begin to see what they mean for your life, and it will help you make that journey through the faith that we are all making together. And then just some things about what's going to happen in each session. So there is a book. You can of course buy one if you want to. They cost about £3.70 each. We have 4 of them for each course segment, so we haven't really got enough to go around. Learning in this way online, it doesn't really matter, because I can scan the pages and I can share them, and you'll be able to use them. And if we record them, you can actually then go back and look at them again as well. But if you wanted to, you can, of course, buy the materials. But each session has a theme. So we're going to start with a book that's called Turning to Christ. And the first session is called, let me find it, Do You Turn to Christ? Nice and simple. It's taken from the baptism service. Do you turn to Christ? And we'll be looking at that next week. So that's the theme. And then there's a little service that starts every session. So these opening prayers, which are not just about me leading them, they're actually a conversation. They're a conversation with each other. They're equally a conversation with God. So that's a good way to start, because conversation is going to be so important. in this whole way of learning. So then there's a conversation starter. So just a simple question that next week we're going to be thinking about: what made you come on this course? Share something that has prompted you to want to know more about the Christian faith. A bit like the questions we asked in the breakout room. And then there will be a passage of the Bible, and then there will be a piece of writing by a Christian writer. And there are some really clever people in this, but they're not clever. They're actually just the sort of person who's really thought hard about something. Hang on, sorry. Who's making a lot of noise? They're the sort of person who's thought very hard about something and can actually talk about it in very simple terms. And then there will be other questions to think about, and it will be very much probably something that we do together, but we might use breakout rooms as well to address some of those questions. And then there is a piece of prayer to finish off with, and a sending out. Now this is sort of homework actually, and we don't need to actually do that in the hour, because an hour is quite a short time. But now I know who's going to be on the course. At the end, I can send you this bit of homework that hopefully you'll do before the next session. But please don't stress about it. If you haven't done it, I absolutely understand, because I've been there and known it myself. It's horrible if you think, oh Lord, I was supposed to do this and I haven't. There isn't any pressure here on any of this. So if you haven't done it, it's fine. Don't worry about it at all. But it would just add more richness. And there is a reading list for each section as well. Now, this is like a treasure chest of riches, and it's again, it's not something that I'm expecting anybody to mug up on before the next section, but actually what you'll gradually do is build up a library of thoughts and writings and feelings that actually you can take with you on this journey of exploration that is the Christian faith and is this course pilgrim. So that's what it's going to feel like. Andrew, we used this as a way of preparing Andrew for baptism and for confirmation. And my impression, Andrew, is that you grew a great deal from the experience. Would that be right?
Exactly, Father. It's through these courses. As you mentioned, it was not just learning; it was just reorientation of my beliefs. Before that, I had some knowledge, few knowledge about Christianity, but it was completely in a different direction. So this course helped me to redirect myself, not just learning and exploring, but also redirect myself. So yeah, it tremendously helped me to build up my faith.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm just putting a question in the chat, which is, are there things that you are fearful about? And I think it's really useful to ask that question, because we all have an experience of being educated at school, and for some that was really easy, and for some it was really hard. And it's important to know, for me to know, but probably for you to know as well, if there are things that you are fearful of as we go into this Christian education program. You know, am I going to be left behind? Is it going to be complicated to an extent that I won't be able to cope with? Are they going to use learning styles that aren't my learning style? Am I going to get lost? Am I going to be heard? Things like that. And I just wonder if anybody's got a fear that they come on a Monday evening with, you know, they're glad to be here, but they have reservations. Anybody like to be blindingly honest and tell us what their reservations are, fears? Tracy, have you got any fears? Is Tracy still on? Maybe she's... Are you there, Tracy?
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
We got kicked out.
All right.
We're on my laptop now.
All
I think
right.
my biggest fear is that I won't be able to answer people's questions
Okay.
if they're a one.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's a fear I share with you, and I don't know the answer to that.
Father, I don't think there are right or wrong answers. It's just a journey, isn't it?
Yes, as you said.
Mm.
You're so nice, Christine.
She is right.
No, I just think that sometimes you expect faith leaders to have all the answers, and that's not always the case. There are different answers to different questions. If you know what I mean.
They are also learners, aren't they? Faith leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll say my fear is, as long as you don't expect me to write anything, I'll be fine. I can cope with anything else.
Oh. Oh.
Okay. Right. We won't do that to you. Fine. Thank you. Thank you for being so honest. Yes. Yes.
How do the writers unscribe?
Okay.
Okay.
My concern is to know what materials we're using. Reading things on screen.
Yeah. So, Bill, I think you probably have the book. They're the same books that we used last time, and.
But if I know what it is it the whole lot, or what do we do?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is a good question. So this is an introductory session, and I haven't yet sat down and thought, right, yes, we're going to do this session and we're going to do that session. But I will. That's a good thought, and in a way, it's a good fear to have as well. Will I be sufficiently prepared? And I'll make sure you are, Bill. I'll make sure.
And then we've got the baptism course coming up as well.
Yeah, which we haven't identified material for, so we need to think about that. Yeah.
And can I just say, finish their fears first.
Anybody else got any fears?
Maybe not. Maybe they're just such great people.
The thing is, Father, we're living in fearful times.
And we are, aren't we? Ah, yes.
Rich on the telly, it's like, oh my goodness, you don't want to listen.
Yeah.
So I think you just need to put that aside and try to have a bit of a more positive attitude, because I think our fears can really just sink us.
Yeah.
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 Well
Yeah.
said, Christine. Well
Sure.
said.
Have you? There are some lovely comments in the chat. Yoshiko says language barrier. So I might say something silly. has Yoshiko dropped out? The important thing to say here is there is no such thing as a silly answer.
Yes, right.
Or a silly thought. They are all very valid, and we'll all make allowances for languages, different languages. So, you know, we're Londoners, and Londoners come from right across the world, and we all have to communicate very carefully, because we know that people's main language may not be English, and that's okay. That's good. So we'll be very careful about that. And Andrew says the same really about culture, that some cultural experiences may not be familiar. So we'll be very careful about that too.
I'll just say,
that's not just for me, that's not just for us to say as leaders, that's actually for the whole group, that we need to respect each other and be careful about people's differences. Tracy?
Yeah.
So by now, we can't really hear, because the choir's started now.
Ah, okay.
So we've got a deal between the two. So for us, we need to finish at 8. Because we start singing just before 8, but we really need to be
fine.
Yeah, because the choir really starts ramping it up by now.
Right. That's brilliant. Okay. Well,
beautiful, but
yeah. And the bargain is that this is going to run for an hour, and so it is going to run between 7 and 8, and we're going to do it at a good old clip to make sure that we don't overrun. Brilliant.
We put it in the parish diary so that I can copy it into mine.
Yes, yeah, happy to do so. Yeah.
I think we took AA out as well, so I think we need to go through the diary tomorrow to what we need to add back. Yeah. Yep,
indeed. So can I thank everybody and wish you a very good evening, and we will meet again no doubt on Sunday, but I'm really pleased that we've made this beginning of the journey of Pilgrim, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Right.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
No, I said don't go. He's gone.
Oh, don't go.
Yeah, don't go.
I thought you should go.
No, don't go. So I can just quickly talk to him.
Right, go on.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Go. Bye, Tracy.
See you. Thank you for coming, Bill. Get home safely.
Would you like privacy, or shall we all listen to you?
You can go. You can all go. Bye.
Bye.
As you saw, my black cat participated.
Yeah, lovely. That's nice.
Welcome.
Yeah, well, she always does on Zoom. Competition. Well, thank you very much. Have a very good evening.
Thank you, Anna.
See you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday. Yes, ciao.
Bye.
We need to. The laptop couldn't manage.
Oh, okay. Right.
The laptop. So we thought it was the Wi-Fi. We thought when everybody had come into the when the building got full, that we just virtually lost connectivity. But it's not. It's our laptop. It's tired. So either we reboot it,
or use your one like you're using it. Yeah, that's probably better. Yeah, right.
It's knackered.
Knackered. Yeah, it's a technical term. That. Yeah, that's fine. We've got prayer group tomorrow at St. Luke's at 9 o'clock.
Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Let's see. I need to see who's here first.
Okay, but I'll go to St. Luke's.
Yeah, because Hillary's not here.
No, right, okay.
I don't know who else is not here tomorrow.
No, okay, fine. It would be a good division of labour if I went to St. Luke's and you stayed put. And
okay, cool. No problem. All right then.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.